Good afternoon, everybody. I know we've just had like a heavy lunch, and then we're all waiting for tea. Even I'm waiting for tea. So we've had a lot of sessions since morning talking about strategy of Gen AI, adoption, generally the overall framework of how you want to be able to adopt AI, machine learning, data engineering, and transformation through the whole journey across GCCs, right? Well, I'm going to do something a little different, right? I'm not going to go into overall strategies and whatnot. I'm just going to talk about a use case that we've been executing with one of our clients, which is a large device manufacturing program, right? And basically what we kind of engaged with them was on IoT, right? Just to take a step back, right? So when back in 2013, when I was working with a large mining equipment manufacturing company, all of the machines which are out in the mines were actually fitted with DACs, which is your data acquisition devices. And every few hours or so, you'd have an operator or an engineer coming in and taking this device, going to a server room, copying all of the data, right? And then this would all come down to a centralized server where we, the data science teams, sit down and analyze this data, monitor, look at errors, faults, and whatnot, right? And today, with the advent of 5G, right, you see data coming in almost as less than 5 milliseconds from the time it's been generated on these devices. So when we started engaging with this client, right, so traditionally when you talk about IoT, right, you talk about diagnostics, insights, dashboarding, and as well as some amount of improving your user experience across the device, right? But the great value of IoT comes in when you start leveraging this data across the value chains, right? Think of using this data where you have usage patterns, where you're looking at how are products selling, what are the kind of accessories that you're dealing with this product, and use that for sales and marketing and maybe even recommendation of some of these devices, right? So we were running this large enough COE program with them, and then all of a sudden the ChatGPT era happened, right? Of course, when you start looking at all of these different use cases, right, you have individual teams, or you have a centralized analytics team who's trying to build out solutions for all of these use cases, and you end up with a crunch, right? So you end up with trying to figure out, how do I prioritize these use cases? How do I pick the right use case, which is generating a lot more value for the organization? And that becomes very, very difficult because no matter how much you hire, no matter how much you're trying to outsource some of this work, there's only limited capacity that you can work with, right? So with the advent of Gen AI, we came up with of course, this was initially a POC, but this is also in production today. We said, you know what, why don't we give the data in the hands of the business users directly, right? This is a lot of structured data that comes in from your devices, plus you also have an augment with your sales, retail, marketing, operations, all of the data that's available today, right? So then adding a layer of generative AI on top of all of this is just an icing on the cake, right? So think of enabling cross-functional teams with a lot of these, the power of generative AI to be able to give them access to the right data at the right time, right? So you have IT managers who probably look at some of these devices and say, you know what, there's something wrong with this device. Can I go ahead and proactively fix what's happening with this device, right? And then there are product managers who run this product. The product owners and the managers want to be able to see, how do I build a device for the right customer, right? Are my devices going to a certain kind of user persona, right? Similarly, you have the CXO, the leadership, who wants to make decisions at a very bird's eye view and drill it down to all of the employees within the organization and align themselves with the goals of the organization, right? So they'll also have questions around what products are doing well, what are not, what do I kind of look at as my next strategy to execute some of my, execute the right principles to kind of go ahead with the organization, right? And then, of course, there are the business users, the marketing folks who want to be able to say, I have a bunch of corporate users who are using a particular device, but can I actually bundle this to improve user experience as well as the ownership experience of a device, right? And of course, lastly, the data science and analytics teams, right? Today, a large chunk of data science and analytics teams end up building metrics, KPIs, simple models on top of this data, and then have all of these enabled on some sort of a dashboard. And that itself takes a significant amount of time to build, right? You need to be able to say, this is the right kind of information that I want. This is the right kind of data that I want for developing a strategy or executing a strategy. The challenge then comes in when you say things are very dynamic, right? I don't know what to cater to first. How do I go ahead and identify the right problems and use data to be able to generate all of these insights and strategies in itself, right? So that's where we built a really cool platform, right? And this is basically using GenAI, right? So imagine you have somebody like the business users or the marketing users, right? To be able to ask a simple question to the generative AI engine, right? And that can get the right data for you, right? And once it gets the right data, it's also able to give you a quick summarization, right? And all of these capabilities we've talked about today, right? Your code generation, of course, your SQL generation, data access generation, and whatnot, right? We've been only talking about generative AI in terms of content creation or code creation, right? But here we're actually trying to automate a workflow in itself to be able to recommend some of these insights on its own, right? And once you're able to summarize all of this, right, you want to be able to give the right insight at the right time. And that's very, very critical, right? Because at a certain position or at a certain managerial level, you don't want to get into nitty-gritties of telling me, go deeper into this data and ask the right questions, right? You want to be able to quickly get these answers when you want to. And that's where, of course, we've orchestrated it with the latest of the technologies anyways, right? But this journey wasn't as simple as we thought it would be, right? So we, of course, with the advent of ChatGPT, we said, you know what, let's try and do some explorations. Let's try and do some POCs, right? Can we start asking these questions without looking at any data, and can you give me some of these answers, right? It does really great when you're not giving it enterprise context, right? It kind of falters when you want to give enterprise-level context to the models, and you're not able to solve, get the right answers at the right time, right? And of course, everybody knows this, that the math from ChatGPT is not accurate, right? So then we said, okay, let's try to do something else, right? ChatGPT aside, let's try and do something else where we embed another custom hybrid kind of a model where we tune it for HP's use cases. We said, okay, let's implement this and see if we're able to ask it simpler questions, right? How many devices do I have in the market today? How many devices are in the fleet? How many have errors today, right? Can we ask questions like these and get insights out? And that worked really well for us, right? So then we said, you know what, these are simpler questions. Can we ask more complex questions where we're marrying sales data, marketing data with IoT data, right? Can we add some more layer of complexity to this and say, you know what, now I'm giving you the right insights which can help cross-functional teams make decisions out of actual data. And then yes, of course, this is still evolving. You have your human-in-loop set up to be able to fine-tune, relearn, and the whole cycle of your LLM ops comes into picture. But this is actually a solution that's available today for the enterprise where different kinds of user personas can answer some of these questions fairly quickly, right? The reason for me to put up this use case a little bit, right, because everybody today is trying to do Gen AI integration, right? Everywhere we've been talking about how management wants to look at, can I adopt Gen AI for my enterprise without even looking at the underlying use case in specific, right? You just want to do something with Gen AI, right? But here what we're trying to do is, this is a lot of structured data. There's not even unstructured data, right? You can actually use Gen AI to create a really intelligent tool to be able to structure your overall strategy making, your decision making, even at a leadership level, right? So some of the really important takeaways from this whole exercise, right, and this is something that's evolving as we talk about this as well, is we're able to actually answer simple to complex moderately complex questions with 85% accuracy, which caters to about 80 to 90% of the questions that management asks today, right, at different levels, whether it's the product manager, whether it's the CXO, whether it's even the category managers that are available for some of these industries, right? And generally, your time to insights is now a few minutes rather than having to go build out or ask for an analytics team to go and query your data and figure out, what is the strategy that I want to be able to take, right? And the most important thing is something this is leading to, right, is automation of a lot of these workflows using LLMs and Gen AI, right? Think of the ability to actually marry analytics tools. You have simulators. All of us have been working with marketing simulators, your scenario planners, your analytics tools that we've been in-house developing all of these things, right? So imagine you're actually able to marry all of these things together through this generative AI, which enables a lot of these workflows to be automated and gives you the right decision to be able to do at the right time, right? And that is something that will actually go leaps and bounds beyond what we're trying to actually achieve with all of this, right? I'm short of time, so quickly, I think I just wanted to bring up a little bit about learnings and challenges, right? So we all know ChatGPT is expensive, right? You know, there is always this trade-off of, should I actually build in a custom model? Should I actually go for an open source model? Should I actually build everything grounds up, right? And we, of course, faced the same similar journeys as we were actually running this program. And of course, we had to look at a hybrid solution for this, right? You can't get away from ChatGPT because ChatGPT does certain things really, really well. But there are other contextual things that you can actually bring in-house to try and talk about not letting data go outside your organization. You want to be able to keep all of your contextualization within the organization, but still leverage that to address different user personas, right? Yeah, so I think the idea was to give you guys a flavor about what we've been actually doing, right? While this is just scratching the surface with generative AI, this marrying it with IoT or marrying it with sales and marketing and organization data can actually add a lot of tremendous value. And you'll see this revolutionizing. We are at the Python moment of data science, right? So where Python actually introduced data science and suddenly everybody is using Python. So we are at that moment at this point in time, and this will only grow exponentially forward. So yeah, thank you. That's the call of the session.